Okay, here we are back in the garage again with the 76 Kz900. For those of you who have been following my previous videos, you'll be able to see that I've got the engine back together, got the pipes back on, got it all cleaned up and looking pretty. Except, of course, for one thing, pretty obvious, the carburetors are off the bike. And the reason for that, as you'll see as I move over to my workbench, I decided to just pull one of the drain plugs off of the float bowl of one of the carburetors, see what came out, and a lot of rusty, nasty stuff came out. And being pretty compulsive, I couldn't let that stand, so I decided to go ahead and pull the carburetors, there they are, off the bike and have a deeper look. And here's where I am so far. And if you look, once I got the bowls off, here are the underside of the carbs. You can look inside here, there's all sorts of rust particles, which I attribute to the ethanol gas that's now in common circulation, which of course attracts moisture, causes stuff to rust. If you look at my floats, and well, I've already cleaned up. Well, you can see this one. I still have the needle and seat left in this carb. And look at in this carburetor, and you can see how rusty it is. These I cleaned up one carb's main jet. That's the main jet right there. There's the pilot jet. I cleaned that up, and the needle in the seat, and those are all nice and cleaned up. And the float's cleaned up. And here's the carburetor bowl cleaned up. Whereas if you were to look at, I mean, you can see from here's one I haven't gotten to yet. You can see this is dried out now, but there's a bunch of rust in the bottom of it. And look at these little orifices in the pilot jet. Here also the aerators in the main jet tube, and all the little orifices within the carburetor. You don't want little particles of rust or anything else floating around in your carburetor. It's bad news. So I'm going to tear down the whole sucker and clean the whole thing and then put everything back together, and that will hopefully really square the bike away. Let's see, a couple things I wanted to point out before I close this video. In case any of you out there are KZ people or have a bike like this, and again, this is a 76 Kz900, the jets that I've been using, I've replaced the main jets with, this is a number 122.5. And I'm using the stock pilot jet, which is a 17.5, I believe. Yeah, 17.5. And that combination seems to really work well for me, even though this bike is slightly modified. It's got a big bore kit. It's got 10.5 to 1 pistons, and you can walk over to the side here. You'll see I've got the Vance & Hines pipe on it. Ignition advancer, and I'm also running these pod air filters in lieu of the stock air box, these K&N pods. And I find that combination works really well. The bike starts up immediately, even after it's been sitting for a while. The performance is really good. Speaking of sitting, that's probably what my problem is. This bike, like my triple two-stroke over there, pretty much just sits. I take them out every once in a while, but sometimes they sit for weeks without going anywhere, and I suspect that is the reason I've got all this junk inside my carburetors. Oh, before I get sidetracked again, something else I've done on my other bikes, and I haven't done yet on this bike, but I'm going to do, these, the float bowl screws, these are the original ones. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but they are very, very, very soft and very, very easy to get chewed up. So while I've got everything apart, I'm going to replace these factory Phillips head screws with stainless steel hex heads, which will make it a lot easier for me to get the bowls off without having to take the carburetors off the bike if I ever have to do that down the road. Something else that I like and that I do when I'm doing a job like this, which I can recommend, this product, this PB penetrating catalyst, is really good stuff. You can see there are some of my other pilot jets, needle and seats, and main jets soaking away in the PB. I let them soak there overnight, and then I clean them by hand very carefully, and they end up looking just like that, just like brand new, and that's what you want. Be very, very careful, by the way, when working with jets. You know, those of you out there who've never done this before, you do not want to stick wire or anything that could potentially in any way damage the orifice of the passageway in there. You can use very fine steel wool wound up by hand and just kind of work that in there and work it back and forth to clean it out. But frankly, if you have any doubt, if you think that your jets are clogged up, just go down to your Kawasaki store or go to Dennis Kirk online or any place like that and just order yourself replacement jets. They're very easy to find for this bike. You know, the Kz900, the 1000, and of course the earlier Z900. They're not difficult to find. At any rate, hopefully I will be able to get to this more later and tear these things down completely put them all back together and get them all back on the bike and get the bike operational in the next couple of days, or maybe by next week. But tune in next time for the next video, and we'll see you then.